In this episode, we are going to be discussing exercising with your kids. Is it dangerous? At what age should they start exercising? And any potential concerns as have been brought up this week. But first, new listeners, we have a 3-episode rule. If you are still listening beyond 3 episodes, leave us a quick 5-star review. Share it on social media. Tag us. This is free value we are providing to you. So if you are getting value from this, help us spread awareness for the show. You spreading it is going to allow this to reach somebody else, touch their life, let them apply it on their own as well. So spread the good word, do your part. Existing listeners, you already knew that. You get the two first episodes are free. Third one, pay your dues.
Seriously, just pause it right now, really quick, and go leave a review or a comment if you're on YouTube, which we've been loving sharing this on YouTube. We've been getting some great comments from our YouTube fam, so thanks. All right. Are we just going to dive right in?
Yeah. So I guess, why don't you talk about why this was a hot topic this week?
So if you guys are new to following us, or if maybe you don't follow us on other forms of social media, I think most of you do. But just in case you're new here, we regularly work out with our kids. We've been working out with Kai in the gym since he was like 1, maybe even a few times before that, but I would say regularly closer to 1.
Cora's 8 months now. She's been in the gym
months.
basically since she was born.
Yeah, we went about it a little bit differently with her because when you have 2 kids, you kind of just got to get it done sometimes. So we regularly post content with them and us working out together, just showcasing the importance of living a healthy lifestyle for your kids and with your kids. But I had a video go viral semi-recently. I think it was like a few months ago now, because it was when we...
Must be nice.
When we signed up for the 10K, Kai asked one day if he could. He asked me all the time. He's very interested in the treadmill. He likes to just walk on it. I don't really let him run too much on it. But I made a reel of him and I running because he asked if he could do a race because he heard we were doing a race. So we've just been encouraging him to, he runs all the time anyway. I think we have to encourage him to slow down more than we have to encourage him to run. But he expressed interest in this, and I made a cute little reel about it, and it just like blew up. I think it has like, 500,000 views now. But more recently, I turned off the filter on Instagram. So like probably for the past 5 years, I had it set so that only people who follow me can comment on my stuff, just for like boundary setting, building my community. Like if you can comment on my things if you're part of my community, just kind of like, creating that boundary. Because I found that oftentimes the only comments that I got from non-followers were spam or just like haters. They weren't really beneficial. They were just people probably scrolling through their feed and just commenting every post that they see with just like whatever comes to their brain first. So I think that's kind of what happened here. The other day I got a comment on this post and it said, from a woman, and it said, "Please stop pushing your kids to be same as you. Recently, one 6-year-old died in the gym where father put him on a running." I think she meant on a treadmill. I think this person is not from this country, I would assume. Her very broken English. But essentially, I mean, and we don't watch the news, so I had no idea what the heck she was talking about at first. I was like, oh, she's probably just like making stuff up. But then she kept like commenting. And I looked it up. I just did a quick Google search of this news story that took place. I don't even know when it happened, but it was in the news recently, probably because the father got sent to jail. But essentially, there is this child abuse case recently out of New Jersey where a father,
a dumbass,
had his child on a treadmill in the gym, and there's cameras in this gym. It looked like it was an apartment gym complex or something. But he had this poor kid. I think he was, 6?
6.
Running, like sprinting on a treadmill, which is dangerous for an adult if you don't know what the heck you're doing.
Beyond the point that he could even keep up. So first of all, an extended sprint. but the kid was falling off
He
it
fell
over and
off
over and
multiple
over.
times, and you see in the video the dad picks him up, puts him back on the treadmill at the same speed, and eventually this poor kid.
Well, he bites him on the head because the kid
and
wants to give up. The
he's
kid's
biting him
telling
on
his
the
dad he
head.
wants to give up, doesn't want to get back on the treadmill. So he picks him up, puts him on it, bites him on the head, and holds him on the treadmill to continue running.
It's disgusting. It was a terrible video to watch, very triggering. But essentially, this kid unfortunately passed away from injury of falling off the treadmill. There's a lot more to it. There's a lot more with like CPS not getting involved, and like it's a big thing right now, so it made like major news headlines. But I initially was just like gonna brush this off, and then once I googled it and saw that she was comparing my video of our sweet boy asking me to do a race,
Running at 1.8 miles per hour or something,
and
like a light.
honestly, in the video, he was on the treadmill for 5 seconds. That's literally, he doesn't run on the treadmill. Like, I don't force him to run on the treadmill.
We usually don't even allow him to run on the treadmill. He'll jump on.
We'll go
if
outside.
You want to do a cute video or whatever, that's fine. We'll go outside, let him do his thing. But another critical element of this, and if you're a follower, you already know this, is, as you mentioned before, he's asking to do these things. He just brought home a Mother's Day gift where he painted a picture and like wrote all these things, and it says, one of the blanks was, I like to help my mom blank. And he says, work out. I like to help my mom work out. He likes to do these things. So we talk a lot about your kids pick up on everything from you, the good, the bad, the ugly, how you speak to yourself, how you speak to others, the things you're doing on a daily basis. If you're on the couch, if you're playing video games, if you're on your phone, if you're working out, they are going to replicate those things. So obviously our kids see everything that we're doing, not to say that we're perfect, but they want to go play sports. They want to go work out. They understand the importance of eating, whole foods. And those are the things that interest them. If they were not interested in working out, they would still be in the gym with us because we have to figure out a way to make it work for ourselves. So they'd be playing cars, playing toys, doing whatever. He's actually interested in starting to pick some weights up. So he'll do it for 5 minutes and he'll go back to playing with his trucks. Nothing about that is forced on our son. It won't be forced on our daughter. If they don't want to work out at all, and they just want to, train for sports for fun, like when they're at practice, that's fine.
And we'll talk about like how to approach fitness with your kids a little bit later in this, but I think obviously this comment is going to like frustrate me because this person is saying I'm abusing my kid. But at the same time, I chose to take the high road of the lack of awareness this person had. And I know most of you know this. I know most of you know who we are. Most of you know we're not forcing our kids to do things they don't want to do.
But this was a good trigger to start a conversation. Again, we've talked about this in the past, but we can dive into some boundaries and how to go about it.
And just education, because I mean, we still are in an obesity epidemic. Our kids are becoming obese. And I say I mean like as a nation.
Not ours.
Not ours, but as a nation. So it is important that we talk about how can we get our kids more active? How can we show them what a healthy lifestyle looks like in a healthy way that's appropriate for their age?
And I want to jump on that real quick because I think you just posted activity level starts declining after 7 years old.
Yep, 7.
So we had a podcast about this probably a year ago. A little controversial, but it was actually received very well. If your child is overweight, if your child is obese, I consider that a form of neglect. I consider that a form of child abuse because you are setting your kid up for all these health issues down the road. Most things, comorbidities are going to stem from metabolic issues, obesity, diabetes, starting with insulin resistance. If you are getting to the point, and this isn't to say you're a bad person, it's not to say you're a bad parent, it's not to say you're, negligent means you're not paying attention, you're just, that may be a bit strong, but that's how strongly that I feel about it. If you aren't setting your kid up for success because you are making the decision to allow your child to become obese, it's not a normal thing. It's normal in our country, but
it's common, but it is not normal.
It's not normal. It's certainly not optimal. It's on you as a parent. If your kid, it doesn't feel great coming out, but it needs to be said. It is a form of neglect. It is a form of child abuse. If you're not taking care of your kid, you're not monitoring those things. You're letting them stay on the couch, watch TV all day, play video games all night, eat whatever the hell they want. That kid didn't make the decision to be unhealthy.
They're not buying their own food. I would assume they're not buying their own food.
So to put them in that position infuriates me. It's a big part of why we're doing this specific episode, to give you some guidelines on how to, this will be exercise related, but set those boundaries for your kids, get them moving, keep them active. But if you're noticing this trend, and it's not judgmental, you need to be very careful with how you go about this if your child is already overweight, but you need to take care of that shit because it's not fair to them. And they're going to have to deal with this shit for the rest of their lives.
And, it does start with you. So if this is something that you are struggling with, it probably will be something that they struggle with too if you're not careful. So this is your sign to start focusing on your health. We have hundreds of episodes at this point to help you do that. That's not going to be this one.
But do it as a family. Make it fun for each other.
Right. I mean, you look at our country and most people are not hitting the physical activity guidelines, which means our kids are probably not hitting their physical activity guidelines.
On top of eating like garbage.
So the physical activity guidelines for children and adolescents up through your teens is 60 minutes of moderate to vigorous intensity activity every single day. 60 minutes. And most of them are not hitting that. So what does moderate / vigorous intensity mean? Their heart rate is coming up. They're sweating. They're a little bit out of breath in the moderate range, and then even more so in the vigorous range. Now, if your kids play sports, they're probably hitting that, I would hope. I would think. But oftentimes it does go past that too. Like that can't be the only time that they work out. Just like we say, the only time you can't... What do we say? No,
if you train
confused.
6 days a week, 90 minutes a session, and then you go right back to your desk, you're still living a sedentary lifestyle.
Right.
If you're moving less than 7,000 steps per day, it's a sedentary lifestyle. Even if you train 6 fucking days a week.
So to think most 7-year-olds start to see this decline is not natural. It's not what's supposed to happen. 7 is so young. Like we're 2 years away from that with Kai, and it just makes me really sad thinking.
You can tell I'm already fired up in this episode. On top of you already allowing them to become obese and to become overweight, you're also establishing lifelong habits that are going to be so fucking difficult for them to break by being so lazy, by living in this sedentary lifestyle, by being glued to their screens. Your phone is not the parent. Your tablet is not the parent. It might be easy. And, if you want to throw on a movie for an hour or so, we still do those things. But our kids are also getting outside. They're also interacting and playing games, and they're, doing arts and crafts, but they're moving their bodies. They're being kids. And so many people out there are not allowing their kids to be kids anymore. And it's disgusting. That's why I'm angry. That's why I'm fired up about it. And it's becoming the norm because you're so fucking lazy sometimes.
This, I posted about this on Threads too, which I've been trying to post more on Threads lately. And I said, parents out here really believe strength training is bad for their kids, yet will hand them over an iPhone, no problem. You're scared of the wrong monster. And someone replied back and said, not sure what you're saying here. Both can be done safely. Both come with risks. There are a few trainers I'd trust training kids because they indulge in too much bro science. Making iPhone usage safe by comparison is so much easier. Of course it's easier. That's not my point. Yeah, it's easier to give your kid an iPhone than it is to teach them about strength training. You just proved my point. So anyway, that part of the rant over. I know too that because this is such a common lifestyle now, because this is the norm, that most people just don't have the knowledge. They don't know where to even start with themselves. So of course they don't know where to start with their kids either. So when we talk about fitness for kids, getting active for kids, that includes strength training. A huge myth I want to bust right now is that people used to think strength training was bad for kids because it would stunt their growth and affect their bones. But we know that's not true now. It only has positive benefits, from bone health to obviously helping them increase strength, which helps reduce injury if they do play a sport, on top of all of the mental health benefits. So boosting their confidence, that one alone makes strength training so worth it. To me as a parent, like, their confidence is the most important thing right now, and helping them become confident in their abilities and in themselves. That's so important. And that's also something that you see get diminished when they get on social media from an early age, or they have a phone from an early age. So
this, not to be judgmental at all, but to just state what I see. The generation, I don't know, mid-teens right now coming up, it terrifies me. They grew up on social media, and I've got friends and family whose kids are in this era, and they wish they never gave them the phone at such a young age. A lot of them have the personality of a doorknob. Like if there's someone working at a retail store or whatever, like they don't know how to talk. They don't know how to keep up just a polite conversation. There's no interaction. It's crazy. It blows my mind. They can't make eye contact. It's terrifying. So, you want to talk about what's dangerous between a dumbbell and a cell phone. Not to say everyone was in that basket. I noticed a significant amount more in that generation than I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. But getting into, how we can help kids become more active and what we can do. So I think first and foremost, we say this all the time, you have to lead by example. They learn by your actions. You can tell them to work out all day long. We know how that goes with teenagers. We know how that goes with kids. Like, it doesn't matter what you say, you have to do. They're going to be more interested when they see you doing something and want to do it with you, especially from that younger age. But even if you're listening to this as a parent of a teenager, it's still not too late. You can still show them that you are taking care of yourself, and maybe they appreciate it, maybe they don't in the moment. They will in the future. So number one, lead by example. Number two, you have to make it enjoyable for them. And there are so many different forms of exercise that you can implement. So it doesn't have to be strength training. It
doesn't have to be in the gym at all.
It doesn't
Get
have
outside,
to be in the gym at all. You
kick
can
a
go
soccer
hiking,
ball, throw a football, go hiking, go swimming.
go for
Move
a
your
walk,
bodies. Just
even
be
just a
outside.
walk.
Things will happen naturally if you just bring them outside. An hour a day. You're done working, they get back from school, whatever it is, just move outside and they're going to run around. They're going to find something to do.
Something that our co-founder, our partner, Joelle, recently posted about. She has 2 kids Sloan is now 3, right? But she has 2 little kids, is my point. They do stroller dinner. So some parents who are coming home and you feel like you're rushed and you're trying to enjoy time with your kids, but you have to cook dinner. They've been taking the kids, they go for a walk, they eat dinner in the stroller, and they end up at the park. And I think that's great. So just one example of finding ways to implement movement and getting outside and getting them outside in your busy schedule. But whether it's going to the park or going out in your backyard or walking your neighborhood or just going for a hike on the weekend, there are so many different ways you can implement exercise, and it's important to find what's enjoyable, but also don't do the same thing often. You don't want to make it so regimented that then they start to hate it too. It has to be.
If it's forced, they're going to, even if they do it through their whole childhood, they're going to resent it and they're going to stop doing it the moment they have that decision.
Yeah.
But even if you can't get outside, it was pouring one day, I think, and Kai had a ton of energy pent up. So I brought in the little portable basketball hoop. We put it in the kitchen, and I just set up these drills where we would run a lap in a certain area, or if you have a small area, run around the kitchen table, then run into your room, then come all the way back, and then take a shot. So little things like that just get them moving, running around, making it fun. We're not just sitting. We're not just sedentary. It's going to look different for everybody. There's no one right way to do anything, but use common sense. Can I do this? Can I do that? What works with my schedule? What doesn't work with my schedule? What can we do regularly? You have to come up with your foundations. What are the basic pillars you're going to build off of? These are the things we can do every single day. And then everything else can be once in a while. We'll do this when we get the chance. We'll do that when we get the chance. We'll go for a hike on the weekends. I'm not going to go for a hike every single day. We'll sign up for sports in the summer or whatever it is. Figure out what you can do every day. Make sure your kids are doing that and control the controllables. Again, this isn't an episode on nutrition. We'll dive into that on another one. But control what you're bringing into your food, into your kitchen, what's going in the pantry, what they have easy access to. Make that side of things fun as well.
Make it fun, and then also praise their effort. So when they do, whether they do it right or wrong, or whether they, don't, if you do have them in the gym with you and they decide to pick up a weight, don't focus on the weight. Praise their effort. Praise their ability to be excited about this. The more excited you get and the more you praise them, the more they're going to want to do it too. So that's important. Last little bit I wanted to add about that is, if you're not confident in teaching them strength and you want them to implement strength, maybe they're 8, 9, 10 years old, you want someone to teach them. I know a lot of local CrossFit gyms do kids classes, and I think that it really is a great place for a lot of people to start, because they will teach you the basics if it's a good coach, obviously. But that's probably, we've talked about CrossFit before. It's a very inclusive
and I doubt they're
community.
pushing for time and all that.
They're not pushing for time. They're teaching kids the basics. They're making it fun. It's really game oriented from what I see. So
Aren't they coming up with obstacle course gyms too now for kids?
Like Ninja Warrior type
Yeah.
stuff. Like there's so much is so much out there. You just have to look for it. You know, a big part, something that I was thinking about today is I really want to start volunteering for Kai school. Maybe we can get in and do a boot camp for his class or like something like that as we get back into our, not back into our community, but like this is our community now. We've built our house here. He's going to school here. I want to volunteer, and working with kids really is something that I'm passionate about. I kind of started my career doing that. So I don't know, if you're local, stay tuned. Maybe we'll come up with something, but
Badass boot camp for your babies.
Seriously though, there's so much out there if you look for it. And at the end of the day, just movement is the most important thing. No matter how you get it done, helping them learn to move again and be excited about moving and making it less about the screens and the tablets, like use those sparingly. And
not to say if you're in a busy and a stressful time and that screen time is up a bit, that does not make you a bad person. That's not what we're saying.
Of course not.
But there has to be balance. There has to be balance on both sides. So it can't just be total neglect. And I say that with love, where, hey, just do this and we're going to go to bed after that. We have periods of time where it feels a lot more like that, but we're still doing a lot of those other things. We're still getting outside. We're still playing.
And honestly, you probably don't want it to go too far the other way either, because then when they see a kid with a tablet at school, they're going to be like, oh my God, I need to see your thing. So
it's all about balance, always.
Always about balance. But, you know, we say this with love. We say this because we want to see a change in the current state of the world.
The world.
But with our kids, and we have the power to implement that change. You have the power to implement that change, and it starts with your family.
And I know we started this episode hot, came in very aggressive, and I don't apologize for it. It needed to be said that way. So hopefully you tuned in and you listened to that and it struck a chord with you and made you a little angry. That's fine. Through awareness, we create change, and we are creating awareness through this episode, obviously, and everything else that we do. But coming in hot was to get you triggered, because I'm triggered, and I'm not saying you're a bad person. I'm not saying you're a bad parent, but you need to wake up. If you are in that situation, if your child is in the situation, if your child is heading down that road, you need to wake up, because it's affecting the rest of their lives. So take these changes for yourself. Obviously, we have 1,000 episodes on this. Not actually 1,000. We got a whole bunch. We got a whole bunch of these. We're obviously trying to cater this to your children as well. Show you how to be the example for your family. So I'm passionate. I'm heated. I'm not judging you by any means. I'm just not shaming you. If it comes across like that, I told you, I'm just trying to trigger you so that you can create changes, because your child's going down a path that is not fair to them. So all with love. We're glad you guys are here. Obviously, you're listening because you're trying to make those changes. And again, through awareness, we create